It's not something I would care about or notice if I was dining at Chili's, but for $10,000, I'm noticing it. They just seem to be altogether poorly organized and somewhat confused. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. I've been making travel videos for over 15 years of popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it's like to be there. And I've even published 2 books of travel stories about things that have happened to me around the world. They're called Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship and Places Please. If you like to read and you want to give me a little extra support, check them out on Amazon now. I'm sort of lounging around here in my penthouse suite in the Haven on the NCL Viva. We're in the middle of our cruise from Istanbul, Turkey, down to Egypt through the Greek islands and back to Athens. And I've already recorded other videos about this experience, cabin tour, talking about the slightly bumpy embarkation process. And of course, I'm going to show you all around the Haven area on the ship. But I just had to sit down after our lunch this afternoon in the Haven restaurant to let you know what eating in this exclusive luxurious restaurant has been like so far. Staying in these super luxurious areas or super luxurious hotels is not something that I usually do. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you know that that's not my vibe. I'm always looking for ways to get the most out of a small budget, and if you have a small budget, you're usually not going to be staying in places like this. And I feel like for somebody like me who usually doesn't spend this much money, that makes me pay even more attention to what's being offered for this money. And I feel like what we've experienced in the Haven restaurant has not matched the price. I'll be totally honest, I feel much more comfortable going to eat at Chili's than at the restaurant in the Four Seasons Hotel. And on top of that, I am kind of a picky eater, partially because I'm just picky and partially because there's certain things that I just can't eat. But so I love going out for Mexican food, for Italian food, Indian food. As somebody who eats vegetarian, those cuisines and cultures offer such a wide variety of selections for people who don't want to eat meat. Nowadays, it's become so easy and just so common for restaurants to offer several vegetarian and perhaps vegan options on their menus.
Well, not in the Haven restaurant here on board the NCL Viva.
And wait, if you think, okay, well, this doesn't pertain to you because you don't eat vegetarian, but the biggest thing I've been noticing in the Haven restaurant is just that the service is not luxury. It is not high class. I feel like it's more organized and better prepared in a Chili's than it is here in the Haven. So first of all, let me tell you what it's been like for me to try to make sure that I have some kind of vegetarian option when we go there to eat. And then I want to tell you about some of the things we've seen, some of the examples of the lacking service that we've witnessed and experienced ourselves while dining there. The dinner menu in the Haven, unlike other restaurants on board, it doesn't change at all. It stays the same every night. And it says in the information that you get when you book the cruise, and also once we got on board, we were informed that if we have any dietary restrictions or special wishes, we should just communicate them in advance, and the chefs will do everything to make our wishes possible. And Marcus and I love to cook. We've gotten pretty good at cooking, and a lot of times I feel like the food that we cook at home is anyways better than when we go out to eat. Do any of you feel like that too? Like, after you really get into cooking, eventually going out to eat almost becomes less fun because you just kind of learn what it is you like to eat, and then you learn how to make it really well with great ingredients, and then, I don't know, that's a different subject. But so, the first time that we were planning on dining in the Haven for dinner, I went there at lunchtime to see if I could talk to somebody about the menu and about maybe vegetarianizing one of the main course dishes, because there were no vegetarian options. I guess there's one vegetarian option, but that was ravioli that came with egg yolk. And for me, that's going to be a no. And I think I know a lot of people who eat meat who also wouldn't really be into ravioli with a raw egg yolk on top of it. So I simply wanted to go to the restaurant in the afternoon to talk to somebody who could assure to me that I could get these ravioli without the egg yolk. Which sounds to me, and I would assume sounds to you, like something that should be so simple. And I can't be the first person who's ever asked for this. But this involved me first talking to somebody at the front desk of the restaurant who made a phone call, had somebody else come to go through my request, and that led to me being seated at a table with the menu and I think it was the assistant maitre d' coming over to discuss it with me. First of all, I introduced myself and I told him that I really don't like to be, like a pain in the butt when it comes to dining, and it's actually kind of uncomfortable for me when I feel like people have to do something way extra out of their normal workday just to accommodate me. I really don't like that. It truly does make me feel uncomfortable. But because we paid to be in this area and paid to dine at this exclusive restaurant, and honestly, Marcus paid more than I did. That's kind of how our budgets work. And because Marcus likes to eat meat and fish, I figured we definitely have to eat here a few times at least, just so we're all getting our money's worth. I apologized for being so difficult. He said it's no problem. And I asked, would it be possible to get this Caesar salad, but then just without the fish and with some other kind of dressing? And would it be possible to get these ravioli, but without the raw egg yolk on top of it? And these must be requests that they've gotten in the past. First, he had to call the kitchen, and he turned his back to me and went to the other corner of the room and had some kind of conversation. Then he came back to me, asked me a couple more questions about what I like, and then he left me there and had to go to the kitchen, and I sat there for 4 or 5 minutes before he came back and could confirm to me that yes, this would be possible. And I don't mean to be overly dramatic, but when I think of going to like a Chili's or an Olive Garden on land, they're so used to having guests with special requests and special wishes that if somebody orders like the chicken fettuccine Alfredo at Olive Garden and says, but I just want the fettuccine Alfredo without the chicken, the server there is like, oh yeah, no problem, we can do that. And I feel like that's how it should be. But here in the Haven, it took me talking with 1, 2, 3 different people and a phone call to the kitchen in order to confirm that those, what I would say, simple requests were available. And to me, that doesn't feel luxurious. It just makes me feel even more like I'm being a pain in somebody's ass, and I don't enjoy that. You know what I mean? I could understand if I'm asking for special ingredients to be added to something that maybe they don't have or that they need an extra time to prepare. But what is a Caesar salad? You know what I mean? It's romaine lettuce, Parmesan cheese, croutons, and then what makes a Caesar salad special is this, really acidy, garlicky dressing with anchovy paste, and then perhaps some anchovy fillets on top of it. And all I'm asking for is make the salad, leave the dressing off, put some ranch on there, and then don't put the fish on top of it. And I know this is all first world problems. Obviously, anything that you complain about on a cruise is a first world problem. I don't need to be here. I could be at home. I'm grateful to be here. I am having a good time. But for $10,000, I just feel like there's certain things that you should be able to expect, and one of them then is also elevated service in this exclusive restaurant. And that includes, to me, being brought what I ordered, things being brought in the right order, having enough to drink, having somebody refill my drink when it's empty. Those are just basic things. And then there are some things, if you wanted to be really picky, that are included in fine dining. For example, when somebody's pouring a glass of wine for you or pouring water, they shouldn't touch the pitcher or the bottle of wine to your glass. It's just like a really tiny fine dining thing, but I don't know where that pitcher's been. I don't know where that bottle of wine has been. And by touching it on the rim of the glass, technically that's also going to end up in my mouth. It's not something I would care about or notice if I was dining at Chili's, but for $10,000, I'm noticing it. And altogether, the servers in the Haven, and we've dined there 3 times now, once for breakfast, once for dinner, and today for lunch. They just seem to be altogether poorly organized and somewhat confused. We've seen so many plates being brought out, and then the person carrying the plate talk to somebody else working in the restaurant, and that person take this and then approach a table to ask them, did you order the calamari? Also, today at lunch, the family that was sitting next to us, there were several things delivered to their table that they said, oh, I'm sorry, that's not what we ordered. And to me, that's not fine dining. That's not luxury service. And yeah, to use the Olive Garden or Chili's example again, usually that doesn't happen when you go to Olive Garden or Chili's. You don't have servers running around with plates in their hand asking each other, do you know where this goes? Who ordered this? So something's definitely not working right up there in the Haven restaurant, and it seems like it would be really easy to fix, but they haven't figured it out yet. Another example of something that I just feel like kind of shouldn't happen at a restaurant of this supposed quality is we were poured ice water when we sat down. The server rested the pitcher on the edge of my glass when she was pouring the water into my glass. Been through that already. And I didn't order any other drink for lunch. I drank my water pretty fast because it's a warm day here on the way to Africa. So I finished my water and it sat there empty after I had the bread, after I finished my appetizer. Oh, by the way, part of my appetizer didn't get delivered. And then eventually I had to flag somebody down to ask them if they could refill my water glass. So maybe that's the problem. I feel like it's not one server is responsible for like this table and this table and this table. It almost seems like everybody's trying to kind of serve every table, and that's how these discrepancies appear, because nobody's really sure who's doing what or who has done what already. And if it was like sort of a standard serving setup, like I know from my time waiting tables back in New York City, then yeah, you have one server responsible for these 4 or 5 tables, and that's all they're doing. And when it's set up like that, it's much easier to keep track of who's got enough water, who's got enough Coke, who's got enough wine, who's gotten their food, who's still waiting, and who needs something else. So altogether, I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make of this video is, first of all, I feel like NCL's kind of dropping the ball with the service and quality of service here in the Haven. Food has been good. Presentation is nice, but just the management and the service is not what I would expect at this price point. I'm curious to hear what you think after you get this information. Is this something that you would find totally acceptable if you're paying to stay here? Or do you also kind of feel like, nah, it shouldn't be like that? Please let me know what you think in the comments. There's a lot of things about this cabin that I think are great and luxurious. It's been fantastic having our own pool deck and sun area with our own hot tubs and sauna and pools, the lounge with our bar with these upgraded cocktails. That's been really nice, but it hasn't been all perfect, and the Haven restaurant is one of the big examples of that. And it's my goal here on the Very Unofficial Travel Guides to help you plan and prepare for your travels and also know exactly what you can expect for the money you're going to be spending. And that's why I choose to sit down and talk about these things and perhaps be a little bit more nitpicky than some people might feel necessary, because, yeah, I mean, let me just say it again.
$10,000.
That's a lot of money. And I feel like for that, you could and should expect more. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides, and I hope to see you back here soon. Bye-bye.